Here we go. I don't know since you can't even race. You're gonna go up there and they're gonna be like, all right, I think we're good. You ready, Angela?
Ready.
Okay. Making sure we're on. That's us. There we are.
We're not moving.
No, we are. We're good. There's like a little delay. It's all right.
Okay. Phone is silenced.
Perfect. Oh, it's a big delay. That's all right. I just want to see if we can see our face or not. It's my arm. Testing 1, 2, testing 1, 2.
Oh, that's a huge delay. I don't even remember what I said back then.
Okay, we're good. Oh, Tom can see us. Okay, cool. Let's do this. Let's introduce ourselves first.
Hi.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
You as well. I'm Rosa.
I'm Angela.
And we're sisters, and this is the Ripple Podcast. We tell strange and unusual stories, and we like to add a little ripple in there. That's where our name comes from, what happens after the strange and unusual story.
Yeah, the ripple effect, the butterfly effect.
All those effects.
I'm going to just keep looking at you because looking at myself on that screen is really distracting.
And it's weird because it's so delayed.
Yeah.
But that's okay. We're super excited to be here. This is our second live with PodVcom and our third convention, because the first one we did a pre-recording because we didn't know what the hell we're doing. Wait, we still don't know what the hell we're doing, but we're doing it.
I mean, if you say so. I don't remember, but sure.
Yeah, just nod.
That
your
sounds
head.
yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah, now that we're on video, I can just nod and smile. Yep. Great.
I have a story. I'm going to start. Normally we do a little catch up at the beginning of our shows, but
Our chit chat.
I kind of have a long story to share tonight.
That's fine. My life is boring anyway,
And
so.
I'm already starting to sweat.
Is it the nerves or is it the shop light that we just grabbed out of the garage
So
to make this video watchable?
I was just telling Angela, I wish we had like a panorama screen of what our studio looks like, because we're literally in our brother's office. I taped our poster up on the wall.
It's going to like start curling and melting off the wall pretty soon.
These like amazingly horrible fluorescent like lightings like an office has. And then it was starting to get dark here. And so we pulled out one of his like shop lights, like because he works on cars. So it's like a shop light. And we have it resting on top of a plastic storage container.
Yeah, so if it starts smoking and I have to run off screen pretty quick, just go with it.
That's
just keep
why.
on going with
If
it.
it gets dark and smoky, that's the reason. But I made you a special drink, so let's
I
drink.
saw this. It looks like Surge. Do you remember the soda Surge that I think got like pulled off the shelves because of like the content of caffeine that it contained
It's
that
kinda
small
like
children were consuming?
Mountain Dew knockoff.
Yeah, kind of, but like way more potent. This is very green.
Well, it's called an alien secretion, which is just a fantastic name.
Oh wow, it's a very fitting name. Wow.
Coconut rum.
I taste the coconut.
Midori, because it's got to be glowing green.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
you're smelling all over yourself already. I'm so glad we're on camera.
Right. And our favorite mixer, good old bubbly water.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess it's gone a little flat. That's okay though. It's still good. You've created a little siphon on your straw there.
There. Now it's tilted upwards. So with that, obviously.
Oh God, I did the same thing. What is wrong with this drink?
I think you need to like tilt it upward. Yeah.
I haven't even had that much yet, and look at me. Okay.
So-
I'm just going to keep it in my mouth.
A little backstory. Angela and I, each week we do our podcast, we pull from like a basket, and in our basket has every location that we have a listener. So we have all of the United States and then some various countries scattered in there. Hey, Canada. And then we have our 5 main topics. So we have true crime, paranormal,
Conspiracy theories,
medical oddities, and wait, did I say paranormal?
You already said paranormal. There's another one in there. We'll think of it. Mysteries, something like that. I don't know. Anything.
I don't know.
We change it all the time.
So we have 5. So last time we were together, I pulled New Hampshire and paranormal. So that's what tonight's story is all about.
And that is why you have this themed cocktail, because we always have a drink that goes along with our story.
Yes. Uh-oh. Hang on. I just got a buzz.
Technical difficulties. At least we're not on fire, so I think we're still good.
Your mic doesn't seem like it's on. Ooh,
uh-oh.
It's on in my headphones.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can they hear me? Do we need to change? Do we need to share mic?
Is that any better, Tom? You sound very distant. That's weird.
Oh,
Angela
well,
sounds fine.
Then it's my mic picking up on you. So why don't we
do a little switcheroo? Okay, thanks, everybody. Hang on one second. Do you want to just switch chairs? Sure. Oh gosh, I'm smelling everywhere. Oh, sorry, everybody.
What is wrong with this?
Flip it. Oh, yeah, you are louder. That's weird.
Okay.
So you'll just have to come up to here.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm just going to be like the peanut gallery. I'm going to be a heckler in the crowd.
Great. That's what I need in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We'll just roll. Oh, God. Everything is going around.
Welcome to the Ribble Podcast, everyone. That's how we roll.
Wrong. Now there's airplanes flying over.
You know.
Perfect.
Cool. Okay, so I'm going to be telling you the story of Betty and Barney Hill.
And they encounter alien secretions, I take it.
Well, something like that. And it's not the Flintstones. It's not.
I didn't even put that together.
Your mic isn't working. Now we can hear you. Sounds much better. Weird. Okay. Well, good to know. Thank you for your help. Okay. So, Barney, he was born in 1922, and he was married to Betty, who was born in 1919. So she is after those, younger boys. I don't know anything about that. They were an interracial couple that was very active in their church. They were members of the NAACP. They're widely known and respected in their community. Barney was also on the local board of the United States Commission on Civil Rights.
Oh, cool.
So they're very upstanding citizens. People in their community really liked them.
Well, that's good.
Barney.
That could go either way. I'm happy to hear that.
Well, absolutely, especially
then.
in that time.
Of course.
Yeah, being an interracial couple was not something that you saw very often because it wasn't accepted. But for good reasons, people really seemed to like them. Barney was also a veteran. He worked for the night shift for the United States Postal Service. And to get to his night job, he had to drive 60 miles each direction.
Oh, no.
And so that's a long drive. It's at night. I'm sure it's a very thankless job. Betty was a social worker.
Well, are these people just saints or what?
I mean, and not just like any social worker. She was one that dealt with like child welfare cases.
Oh,
so they obviously both had very difficult jobs. And when they weren't doing their normal 9 to 5 or 5 to 9 job, they were out volunteering in their community.
Wow.
So they were both on their second marriage. And after like a little over a year of their marriage, They decided just kind of on a whim that they would go and take a road trip from their home in Portsmouth, New Hampshire to Montreal and Niagara Falls.
Oh, cool.
So it's going to be just like a little 3-day impromptu delayed mini honeymoon.
Sounds fun.
So it's September 19th, 1961. And fun fact, remember Storm Area 51?
Mm-hmm.
So that actually was scheduled for the 19th and 20th of September.
Well, for this reason?
Is
this related to the story?
I'm assuming that's the reason that they chose. I mean, that's pretty area.
Didn't somebody decide to make that Facebook event at like 3 a.m. on some crazy whim?
Well, I don't know.
Do you really think it was planned out that well?
It's pretty coincidental.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever. I kind of liked it. I'm like, oh, someone actually knows about Barney and Betty, and that's why they decided to plan Storm 51.
I've never heard of Barney and Betty.
Except Rebel. Okay, so on their way back home, they stopped at a diner to grab some coffee because they're going to be driving like 5 more hours just to get back home. So they want to get a little bit of caffeine in their system so they're not falling asleep on the road. And they live in like a pretty rural area, so they're going to be, mountainous, windy hills, and they need their coffee. House. Yeah, totally, to be alert. So they'd also gotten word that the weather was going to get pretty bad and a hurricane was going to be coming through. So they obviously wanted to get out of the way of that.
Yeah.
Betty was very into astronomy. And as they're driving, she sees this like bright light in the sky that's moving from below the moon and planet Jupiter upwards to the west of the moon.
I have a feeling it's not a shooting star.
Probably not. And you know how well I know directions? Like
not at all.
My northeast, southwest. Like I get lost driving home. So that she was able to recognize that like, oh, this is something that's like to the west of the moon and Jupiter would be here. Like that's to me super impressive.
Very impressive.
So as they drove, she's watching this like bright star lighting up thing that didn't really look like a star. And it seemed like it was following them. And then it seemed to be getting bigger and bigger and brighter. And like I said, Barney had been in World War II and he was really knowledgeable about aircraft. So he sees it and he's like, oh, it's an airplane or maybe a helicopter or possibly even a satellite that had gotten off of course. But as it's getting closer and closer and closer, it's not making any sound. And you and I were at an airport, like literally right now. We record on an airport area. And there's an airplane flying overhead. Like airplanes, helicopters, they make noise. There was no sound happening. So Betty's not convinced. She's like, I don't think so. She kept her eyes on the light as they were driving, and there's really a big airplane going over. And there's no other cars around, so it's not like other headlights. And it's as they turn these winding mountainous roads, the light seems to be kind of following them. And
that's creepy.
So then Barney, he's driving along, and I put this in there for our brother. He was driving a 1957 Chevy Bel Air.
That means absolutely nothing to me.
Me either, but I figured Eric would like that.
I feel like that's a car that I would see a picture of at a 50s diner.
Hanging on a wall
the extent of
with like Elvis in front of it.
Probably. I feel like it's red and white,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say.
Yeah. So the light behind them seems to match their every turn. At one point, the object flew over a restaurant and a signal tower, and Betty said that it was at least 1.5 times the length of the granite cliff, which was 40 feet long. So do some math for me.
100 feet.
There you go. It was just about 100 feet over their car as well.
Oh, that's way too low.
Yeah.
That's really low.
Uh-huh.
I don't like this. I would go into that diner and I would not leave.
So they're like kind of the opposite, at least Betty. She's like, she wants to get a better look at this. This light thing had been following them for miles.
Betty's a badass.
So Barney pulls over and he keeps the engine running. And
I don't blame him. He does not turn that off.
He grabs his handgun that
he had kept in his car.
I'm a Barney.
You're a Barney. You get the handgun. And then they also pull out Betty's binoculars because, they'd been on a vacation. I don't know. You want binoculars. She likes
looking at stars and stuff.
Sure. And they noticed that the light seemed to be like spinning in the air. Oh. And this is a quote. It says, "Barney, if you think that's a satellite or a star, you're being completely ridiculous." Barney was the realist. He was practical and he didn't really believe in things that weren't explained by science.
I feel like this is us.
Yeah, you're very much the Barney and I'm so the Betty.
You are the Betty. Mm-hmm.
He had an IQ of 140, which is I had to look up because I never took it. It's genius level.
So yeah, me.
Ever. He also knew, like I said before, that helicopters make a lot of noise, and this was silent. Airplanes can't hover. This was hovering, and it was 100 feet off the ground. Satellites don't follow vehicles. This was nothing that Barney could explain. So he knew then that Betty was correct. So they see this large, flat, like thing hovering above them. Later on, Barney will describe it as like pancake shaped, like very flat.
Okay. I'm glad that we're getting quotes from Barney later on.
Oh yeah. Good observation. What? Yeah. He is later on.
I don't want them to be found somewhere in the desert covered in alien secretion.
No. So the thought of like, this is not happening, this is not real, keeps like spinning through their minds.
Just like a UFO
spinning above them. So Betty, she's checking out her binoculars and she sees this weird shaped flying thing. And she assumes it's a flying saucer because her sister had told her a story about seeing one years before. So her sister apparently had seen one.
Interesting. What a coincidence. Maybe they like to follow the family.
Maybe there's some connection in their DNA. Maybe they're a product of alien secretion.
I've had that theory for a very long time. I don't think it's typically like an uncommon theory.
Alien secretion?
Oh, no, that we all have alien DNA. That's where we came from. That's
aliens?
where humans came from. Yeah.
No, we came from Jesus.
Oh, well. We'll get into that on another episode.
So Barney, he takes the binoculars from Betty and he puts them around his neck and he's like checking them out. And he sees that the aircraft is now just 50 to 80 feet away from the couple. And he grips on his gun and he attempts to raise it at the object, but he was unable to lift his arms. He also noticed through the binoculars that there were 8 to 10 like humanoid figures looking out of the windows directly at the couple. And then these
I don't like this.
Figures.
I don't like this at all.
All at the same time, they move towards like an opening of the craft.
Oh, no.
But there was one figure.
He still has the engine running, right?
He does, but he can't move. He can't even lift up his arms to raise his handgun. The one figure remains in place and just continues staring at Barney. And it told Barney to, quote, "Stay where you are and keep looking." But it communicated that telepathically.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So Barney remembers these humanoids that were, quote, somehow not human. And they're wearing these like shiny black uniforms with black caps. So I picture, like, that one Britney Spears video when she's in like that leather, red leather.
Shiny. Oh, yeah.
That's what I picture these humanoid creatures wearing. Whether or not Barney agrees with that description, I don't.
I'm going to picture that now, too. So we have eight of them,
8
right?
to 10. Mm-hmm.
In black. What are they, like vinyl cat suits?
Vinyl.
What's the name for that?
Pleather?
Shiny. Yeah, sure, pleather. That works. The shiny skin tight cat suits. Okay.
Yeah, with little matching caps.
I'm gonna imagine their berets. I just feel like sequin berets.
That would be fun.
That would complement the outfit.
I wouldn't be as scared.
No.
Mm-mm.
No.
So Barney then sees these red lights and these bat wing like fins start to come out the sides of the aircraft. While a long structure comes out the bottom. So these wings are opening up top, and there's a pancakey thing flying, and then this thing comes out the bottom.
All right.
So the humanoid that was communicating with Barney told him to put down his binoculars. So Barney's like, I'm out. He runs back to the car.
He can move now.
He can. He I don't know if they broke a trance or what. And he yells at Betty, get in.
Oh, I was going to say, peace out, Betty.
And they leave her there. They take off and almost immediately hear loud, like rhythmic beeping. And it was sounding like it was coming from the trunk of their car. So there's like this beep, beep. I don't know, like boom, boom, beep. I don't know. Some kind of a rhythmic-y sound.
That sounds like a bomb.
No, well, it's coming from the trunk of their car.
And it's a rhythmic beeping.
Yeah, beep, beep. They say beep. I don't know. I just picture like a droning, like a bassy. Maybe because, I don't know why. Airplane. So soon the couple felt really sleepy and apparently fell unconscious after they were listening to this.
While they're driving.
They did not pull over again.
Did they actually pull over for coffee or?
They did. They pulled over for coffee.
Was it really coffee though?
Was it laced?
Do we have any confirmation that was in fact coffee?
It was laced with magic mushrooms. Mushroom coffee. So they wake up over 2 hours later and 35 miles from where they had stopped the car.
Oh, so they did stop.
Well, the first time. So the car because they woke up 35 miles away from where they were.
But they don't remember the 35 miles?
Right.
Oh, and that's weird.
And it doesn't take you 2 hours to drive 35 miles. Unless you're in LA traffic.
That's creepy.
So the drive home or like what from the diner should have only taken around for 4 hours, but it took them more than 7 hours to get back home.
Oh, I would have been starving.
So this like phenomena that like UFOologists call missing time. So there's that 2 hours that they don't know what the hell happened to them. So the next morning, the couple wakes up at their house in Portsmouth, and they have no idea how they got there or what happened after they heard the rhythmic sounds. They noticed that Barney's best dress shoes that he had been wearing were super scuffed. The leather strap from the binoculars was torn in 2 pieces. The dress that Betty had been wearing, which was like a new, nice dress, it was ripped on the zipper, on the hem, and on the lining. And she also saw like this pinkish powder that was like sprinkled over the dress. She didn't know where that had come from. And both of their watches were no longer working.
Whoa.
So, go ahead. Did you have something to say? Say it into my microphone. Tell me your thoughts.
I don't know. I mean, it sounds like drugs. I'm just going to throw it out there. I know that's what I say every time because I'm always a skeptic. And we've talked about this before when you told me your story about some dude who got lost in the Sedona Desert.
Right.
And my answer was drugs.
I kind of am with you on that one.
Like that kind of sounds like if you told me that this story happened a week ago and not in 1920 or what? Wait,
60s, early 60s.
Mm-hmm. Never mind drugs. I'm saying it's drugs. Whether it was intentional or whether
it was their coffee was laced.
Their coffee was laced and somebody thought it'd be a funny joke. Drugs.
Okay.
That's what I'm going with so far.
All right.
Yeah. So they had the ripped clothing, the
binoculars.
Was there any parts of their body that maybe
I'm going to get to that.
Okay. All right.
So remember that rhythmic beeping? So they go back to their car and they look at the trunk of their car and they see these like shiny circles on the trunk of their car.
Shiny circles.
Mm-hmm. So again, I envision like you know when you hold a buffer on a car like too long and it makes that like circular.
Sure.
That's what I think of.
Okay. That's the only description we get is shiny circles. So we got to use our imagination for the rest of it.
There was other like technical terms. I didn't understand
shiny
them.
Circles.
So we're going to go with shiny circles. So Betty and Barney, they take a compass for whatever reason. Like I said, Barney's super smart. So he gets his compass and it comes near these circles and the compass just starts spinning like crazy. And then they move it away and it does nothing. And then they move it to other parts of the car. It does nothing. When they bring it back to the circles, it spins and spins and spins.
Magnets.
And then they also had like these impulses that weren't superly understood. Betty like demanded that their luggage not be brought into the house, and instead she wanted it by the back door, like so they didn't walk by it. And then
did she think it was contaminated with alien secretion?
She totally did. So, and then Barney, he like totally wanted to go into the bathroom and check out his genitals. Stop laughing. I'm being serious.
Why did you say that right when I was taking a drink?
Because it was the next line. But he found, nothing out of the ordinary. Everything looked good down there.
Well, I'm glad that we had confirmation on that.
The couple decided that they both needed to take long showers just because they felt dirty.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Then they also drew pictures of what they had seen. And they also said that they felt like there was a strange presence with them. Like they just couldn't shake this presence that was around them.
They have alien ghosts. Alien ghosts followed them home.
That would be so cool. I want an alien ghost. So over the years, 5 different laboratories conducted chemical and forensic analysis on Betty's dress.
Oh, the pink powder.
And none of them could ID the substance.
Really?
None. This is 5 different laboratories. I don't know the year that the last test was done, but it was over the course of many years.
So did they still have the samples today?
They have her dress still.
Okay. But nobody's since decided to test those pink powders?
I don't know how much pink powder is actually left on that dress at this point. Because if it gets moved around or whatever, it's, falling off. So on September 21st, this is 2 days after the encounter now.
And the week before my birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Betty called the Peace Air Force Base. And it's PEASE, if that means anything.
It's not like probably a place somewhere.
It's not like peace, but to report their UFO sighting. So she's like I'm calling the Air Force. Like this is what's happening.
Okay.
She's concerned about possibly being exposed to radiation. And the very next day, this guy named Major Paul W. Henderson, he called Betty back and asked her some questions, like wanted more details as to what they had seen. So this guy hears about Betty calling. And he's like, oh, I need to, he's taking it so seriously, he's giving her a call back. So according to the report that Henderson filed, he determined that the couple had noticed the planet Jupiter.
What? Mm-hmm. They just noticed the planet Jupiter.
That's what they saw.
It just happened to be visible that night. And also
followed them,
was within 80 feet of them, was full of aliens wearing Britney Spears cat suits and had bat wings and also dusted them with pink powder.
Yeah, totally. I mean, yeah, doesn't Jupiter do that?
Honestly, if you encounter any sort of aliens, those sound like the most fun aliens.
Dude, maybe they've got some cool Britney Spears music playing.
I would think so.
Maybe that's where Britney is right now. Hashtag free Britney. Okay. Maybe. So his report was forwarded to Project Blue Book. Do you know what Project Blue Book is?
I do not.
It's like a thing where the U.S. Air Force logs UFO encounters and research. It's like
Is this common knowledge?
Nope, I had to look it up.
Oh.
But it's a thing if you Google it. I mean, Google.
Can you find it? Can you read their
notes? I don't know.
Because I know recently that a lot of that information was released. I have yet to
read any of it.
But.
Yeah, I mean the U.S. is like you said, recently said there are UFOs. Don't know what that means.
Apparently, they look like Tic Tacs.
The Air Force's Project Blue Book would ultimately dismiss their story, determining the unexplained craft could be explained by, quote, natural causes, hinting that the couple hadn't seen a spacecraft at all, but just the planet Jupiter, or maybe weather balloons.
Oh. But how could you I don't know how you could definitively make that claim, No, nothing you saw was real.
Nothing you saw. The light following you didn't happen.
But why would they want to hide
Okay.
That's the other question. Do you have answers for me?
Totally. No.
Oh.
For the next few weeks, Betty would go to the library and she read a bunch of books about UFOs. Oh, for those of you that don't know, libraries are a place where like people used to put books. Oh, and books are things that people used to like write things in and print, and you would open them.
It's not just the place where people go and watch porn on the 6 free computers that you can.
Gross. Block that.
It happens.
So one of the books that she found was focused on and written by this guy. He was a retired Marine Corps major named Donald E. Kehoe. And he was also the head of the NICP, and that stands for the National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomena. So it's pretty much like a bunch of normal people that go out and investigate UFOs. They're like passionate about UFOs. Normal people.
Okay.
So Betty writes their story and sends it out to Donald Kehoe. And Donald then passed the information on to a man named Walter Webb. And this Walter Webb guy is an astronomer and also a member of the NICAP. So Walter meets with the Hills on October 21st, 1961, and he conducted a 6-hour interview with them.
That's a long time.
Long time.
Especially considering you don't even remember the 2 hours that this happened.
Yeah, what are you talking about? So Barney, he's not really into this. He doesn't give very many details. And he said he kind of formed like some mental block about what had happened.
Somebody touched his butt.
I think you might be right.
Somebody touched his butt.
Mm-hmm. So he's like not into it, but he's kind of just there, letting Betty do most of the talking. Walter believed their story full 100% and said that there may have been a few details that they had gotten wrong, but
wait, he's saying that they got details of their own story wrong.
I think he
How does that work?
Maybe they like switched their story here and there.
Oh.
Maybe Barney said one thing and Betty said one thing, so maybe that's how their story got wrong.
I see what you mean.
But also again, like when you're having like a traumatic experience and you're going in to recall like what happened, there's, possible chances that your story is going to change.
For sure.
And being abducted by some aliens is kind of traumatic.
I would think so.
Just a little bit. So Betty, she starts then having these super vivid dreams about the UFOs and their experience with the humanoids. So these dreams happen for 5 nights in a row. And every night she writes down the details of her dreams. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about what the dreams were about.
I love this. I'm excited for this.
This is the best. So she and Barney encounter a roadblock when driving. They stopped and some men come out and surround the car. The men were dressed in blue uniforms that looked kind of like they were from the military. So not the black, shiny, leathery outfits. Okay. They also were about 5 feet tall. Betty went in and out of consciousness. 2 men were forcing her to walk through a forest with Barney following behind. She called out to him, but he wouldn't respond. The small men looked human-like. They had black hair and eyes, large noses, with bluish lips and gray skin. So these dreams keep happening. And Betty describes having like the men walk them up into a ramp, into a metal disc-shaped aircraft.
So she's always seeing these same men every dream?
Every dream.
Mm-hmm. Weird.
They meet someone on the aircraft that Betty refers to as the leader. And then she dreams about being examined by a couple calm humanoids that spoke to her in broken English. And the purpose of these examinations were to see what was the same and different between humans and the spacecraft beings. So they're taking samples from her. She remembers like getting her hair cut, having a bright light shining on her.
Oh, kind of like us right now.
Bright light. There's lights going into her eyes, her ears, her nose, her mouth. Parts of her fingernails were clipped. They closely examine her legs, feet, and toes. they do like some skin scrapings. Like,
Ooh.
you know, like you can like take something and like get some
like,
dead skin off of you.
Do you take a loofah to her?
Yeah, pretty much. They exfoliated her really well. And they put
kind of nice. Kind of like a little spa treatment.
Spa in the air. They put those skin samples onto something that she said looked like plastic wrap. So then they wanted to test her nervous system.
Ooh,
so this is all
that sounds sketchy.
And you know, in her dream still. The examiner took a long needle and inserted it into her belly button.
Oh no, I don't like this.
Betty dreamt this was super painful, but just as she was crying out in pain, the leader waved his hand in front of her face and she felt nothing. Just doing a little check. Okay, we're good. When the examiner was finished, Betty talked with the leader. So, like, the exam is done, and now the leader guy who's been standing in the corner, like, the whole time watching, kind of instructing the other people what to do.
Oh, God.
He comes up to her, and she starts to talk to him. And she's like, hey, where are you guys from? And he points to a map with a bunch of constellations on it.
Okay.
And then also Betty sees, like, a book, and it had a bunch of symbols on it. And the leader's like, oh, you can go ahead and keep that.
Wait, what?
Mm-hmm. So as the testing finished, the couple were being shown the way out of the craft, and Betty recalls hearing like an argument between some of the humanoids. And the leader then comes up to Betty and told her that she had to give the book back because they didn't want her to remember what had happened to her. So the aliens wanted like her to remember nothing from this experience.
Well, clearly that didn't work.
Not at all.
And also, okay, as you pointed out earlier, this whole library situation that used to be a thing, I would think that alien humanoids that would be that advanced, why do they still have books?
Maybe it was a book it opened and it like it was holograms.
Oh, maybe.
Or maybe it like told the story for you. I don't know.
Those books they used to read to you?
Like each page.
Remember those? You just press the button.
I told you the story.
Oh, the good old days.
Happy times. So these dreams keep happening for 5 successive nights. And Betty said that she had never in her life had such vivid dreams. And they felt so real. And we did some episodes on like dream say that word for me. Paralysis.
Yeah, we did a couple episodes about dreams. You did an episode on lucid dreaming.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did an episode about sleepwalking. So we talked about the different stages of sleep and dreaming and what is happening in your body in each one of those states.
Oh.
What?
I just heard that our thing isn't set to public, but now they fixed it for me. Hey guys.
Hi. Why wasn't it set to public?
Her original post needs to be public. I don't know.
Oh.
I thought it was. Well,
that's
are you guys good? Oh, I just shared the post. Thank you, Tom. Tom to the rescue again. Okay, we're going to keep going. Okay.
It's all good.
So the couple,
Aliens.
the couple
Secretion.
meets again with some more of the members of that like UFO club, and they're asked again about like the missing hours on their drive home, and it's suggested that they undergo hypnosis.
Yes. Yes. I'm so excited.
I'm sorry, and that we've also done episodes on hypnosis.
We have.
So
And we need to do more because I love talking about hypnosis.
super cool. And the goal of like them going to this hypnosis guy is to help them fill in those missing gaps. Hypnotist, whatever. So Barney, he's again not too into the idea, but he agrees to go if it would put a stop to, quote, the nonsense about her dreams. Because she's telling it to him and he's like, I don't want to hear any more about this. I'm done. I don't want to talk about this experience. I don't want to remember this experience. So he's like, fine, I'm going to go see this hypnotist with you. If you just drop it, I'm done.
I am now convinced.
That you're Barney?
No.
Oh.
Anyway, we have confirmation that in fact somebody touched his butt.
Okay.
I'm thinking.
He doesn't want to share.
No, he's just over it. Like, let's just move on.
So on November 23rd, 1962, the Hills were at church, and a man from the United States Air Force, Captain Ben H. Sweat, was giving a talk about hypnosis. So I'm not really sure like how hypnosis and Jesus kind of go hand in hand, but apparently they had some military guy at their church talking about that. So the Hills go and talk with Captain Ben about their recent encounter. And they're like, hey, can you hypnotize us? And like, this is what happened. We want to know if you can help us. And he's like, nope, sorry. I'm an amateur and you guys definitely need to see a professional.
Good
so
for him.
Barney, he recently starts seeing a psychiatrist because he's been dealing with like major anxiety. He's getting ulcers from the stress. And Barney decides to ask his doctor for a recommendation of a hypnotist. And he recommends this guy named Benjamin Simon. And I'm checking time. Okay. The couple both meet with Benjamin Simon, who was a psychologist, neurologist, and specialized in hypnosis.
Wow.
So he's got a lot of like letters behind his name.
This episode is full of all kinds of smart people.
Not us. I didn't even make this public.
It's all good.
So he starts working with the couple in early January, and he keeps having these sessions with them until June. So that's 6 months of sessions.
Okay.
The Hills are paying for these sessions out of their own pocket. They're not.
I feel a scam coming on.
They're not getting any help with it.
Uh-huh.
So he meets with Barney and Betty separately so they don't know what the other one is saying.
Smart.
Mm-hmm. And after each session, he would give the hypnosis suggestion to forget their abduction again.
Oh, why?
Well, because they're so stressed out about it.
But was Betty stressed out about it too, or was
She was.
Okay.
She was having some anxiety about it for sure.
All right.
Not as bad as Barney, but definitely was affecting her as well. So Barney and Betty, they had some different accounts of their abductions. When they were hypnotized, Barney would get very emotional and show signs of fear. And he would at times just totally shut down and stop talking. So Benjamin didn't want to press too hard with the sessions with Barney because he didn't want to add more to his stress and anxiety.
Okay.
Like they're supposed to be helping him, not causing more.
Right, for sure.
So according to his hypnosis, Barney kept his eyes closed for the majority of the testing when the beings were testing on him.
Okay.
He just maybe like closed his eyes and wanted to block it out. So when questioned about the leather strap on the binoculars, that tore,
that ripped, right?
He said that happened when he was first running away from the UFOs.
Wait, did they like grab him by the binoculars?
I'm going to grab you by the binoculars. I don't know. Maybe it caught on something. Because I don't think they'd have to physically grab him.
Well, I don't know. I've never been abducted by an alien.
But maybe he just like got scared and ripped him off himself. I'm not sure.
Weird.
So, or maybe a tree because he was walking through the forest. So maybe it caught on that. So he tells a story of how he and Betty were taken into. Oh, sorry, backing up. Okay, he told about seeing 6 men standing in the middle of a dirt road that they were driving on that caused him to pull up to the side of the road and stop the car. 3 of the beings came up to their car and told him not to be afraid and made the comment. So this is Barney saying this. I felt like their eyes had pushed into my eyes.
Oh, I don't like that.
I know.
That's almost as bad as the belly button needle.
So Barney told the story of how he and Betty were taken into a metal disc-shaped craft. Once they were inside, the beings separated the couple and took them into different rooms. So Barney goes to one room, Betty goes to the other room. He says that the walls were curved and that there was a bright light hanging from above.
Okay.
He was told to get onto a small metal table where they examined him.
Does this not sound like every alien abduction you've ever heard of?
Like every movie. Yeah. There's a small metal table. There's
Everything's
lights.
just like white and like very clinical.
Yep. So his clothes were removed. His legs were too long for the table, and he remembers them like partially hanging off the table.
Okay.
His skin was scraped, and his ears, eyes, nose, and mouth were checked out. So this is Barney telling this through hypnosis. This is very similar, however, to Betty's dreams.
And this is what he didn't want to talk about before.
Correct.
So now it's finally coming out under his trance or whatever. Interesting.
So he reported that his spine was closely examined, and it seemed like they were counting his vertebrae. And then something cup-shaped was put over his sexual organs. And Barney reported that a sperm sample had been taken. However, he didn't remember having an orgasm.
Oh, okay. That's a little bit more detail than we needed, but okay.
So hairs were plucked and nail clippings were taken. Again, very similar to what Betty's dream was. And then a thin cylinder was placed in his anus and removed.
I knew it.
See, you're just too smart.
Yeah.
Barney said that the beings communicated with him. It was in English, but it was mumbled and sometimes difficult to understand.
Oh, so this wasn't like telepathically anymore.
But he also said that their mouths never moved.
Oh, I hate that. That creeps me out.
So he's, they're communicating with him and it's, kind of mumbled, but it's being telepathically passed on. And he never used the word telepathic. He used like mind talk and all these different words.
Same thing.
So when Betty was under her hypnosis, the information that Benjamin Simon collected was almost identical to the dreams that Betty had written down. Most of her stories were positive and sometimes even funny. She tells like this one story about how she's in the examination room and a couple of the beings come in and she says it sounds like they're laughing. And they're talking about how Barney's teeth came out of his mouth.
Wait, what?
He wore dentures.
Oh.
And they didn't understand that. And but she remembers them hearing them talking about that, like laughing about how his teeth came out.
That's kind of rude, but okay.
She also says she did have moments of fear, similar to Barney, to the point of having to end a hypnotic session early because she was crying so hard. So she has like moments of like laughing, funny, haha, this guy, is the aliens are laughing about my husband's teeth, but then she's also crying. She does remember asking the leader where they were from, and he showed her a star map, like her dream. So Betty was given a post-hypnotic suggestion that she could sketch a copy of the star map. Then she described the star map that she saw as like a 3-dimensional, like almost hologram. Like he opens up this
Star
paper
Wars
and
style.
It's spinning around type thing. So the map that Betty drew had 12 stars and like 12 major stars and then 3 smaller ones that weren't as prominent. And Betty connected the lines to the 12 stars and said that they were the trade routes of and then the other 3 smaller stars made like a triangular shape. And I'm going to get back to that star map in a bit. So keep that in your mind. So after months of meeting with Benjamin Simon, the couple's anxiety and stress from the incident seemed to not be affecting their lives anymore. So that's a good thing. Benjamin made the conclusion that Barney's recollection of the UFO encounter was a result of Betty's dreams. So he's like, 6 months of this hypnosis stuff, and I don't believe you.
I was going to say that. I was going to say that this might all have been a suggestion. Like if she's having 5 days of these reoccurring dreams and she's having these like super vivid imagery and she's telling her husband about it and he's sick and tired of hearing it. Like if that is told to you, couldn't hypnosis just bring out those dreams again?
Those like implanted thoughts.
Yeah, exactly. Like you have that influence going on. I don't know.
So when Barney hears this, he's like, no, that's not true at all. And he points out the differences of their memories.
Like she didn't have a dream about things going in his butt.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, because he fully admitted that. So Benjamin later went on to write an article for Psychiatric Opinion, and he called their case a, quote, singular psychological aberration. And he didn't think that the couple had made up the story, but just that Betty's dreams had put the suggestion into place and made them believe the story. So exactly what you had just said. In 1966, John G. Fuller, he got the Hills and Benjamin Simon to agree to let him write a book about the experience. So this writer guy works with the hypnotist as well as Barney and Betty.
Is he going to pay for their however many sessions?
6 months of hypnotherapy. The book is called The Interrupted Journey, and it soon became a bestseller. And in the book, he included a picture of the picture that Betty drew of the star map.
Okay.
So here's the beginning of my ripple. 2 years later, this lady named Marjorie Fish, she reads the book. And since she was an astronomer as well as an elementary teacher, it totally captured her attention. She assumed that one of the large stars that Betty had drawn was the Earth's sun. And she creates a model using like beads and string to recreate.
Such an elementary school
such a teacher, right?
And then she strung the macaroni.
Paint it red first. Total craft project. She recreates this like 3D model of Betty's drawing. And she referenced the 1969 some star catalog. I don't know, something fancy. And
okay, I'm just gonna go with it.
As well as thousands of like vantage points over several years. Because like how, every year the moon, the sun, everything's in different positions. So she's like,
sure.
Well, like from your point of view.
Okay.
But so the only one that matched the Hill map was from the viewpoint of the double star system Zeta Reticuli. And I'm sure I said that wrong and people are going to yell at me, but that's how I'm saying it.
How do you figure that out?
Because she's really smart and she knows
like a lot of math and angles and like geometry and stuff. Because like, how can you determine that like, oh yeah, only from this vantage point would that?
I don't know. Because do you have a star app on your phone?
I do.
So,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You just use that. She just downloaded one of those on her phone.
She totally, she got the free version for 30 days. Right? And then she paid $9.99.
Spams you with like, hey, if you want to pay us however much money, we can give you your daily horoscope.
Yeah, add that in there.
Uh-huh.
So her findings end up with the editor of Astronomy magazine. This sparked debates for years following because, what she discovered, she's like, okay, this is what they saw. We're publishing it. Her star map matches up with this area. And people for years afterwards were like, no, this couldn't have happened. Yes, it did. It kind of brought it all back again from the magazine.
Because determining that location also determines where the aliens came from, right?
Correct. Okay. Exactly. So if that star map was in fact correct, then were the Hills really taken? So many skeptics say that the Hills had this experience because they were maybe sleep deprived. Maybe they were under a lot of stress because they were an interracial couple of that time.
But they seem to be doing pretty well. At least it sounds like it.
Maybe one of them said they experienced sleep paralysis. Or maybe when they were under hypnosis, that they were given leading questions.
Oh,
but
interesting.
The couple always stuck with their story and said this is what in fact happened. So later on, Betty became known as a voice in UFO research. She claimed she was visited multiple times in decades to follow. Barney unfortunately died of a cerebral hemorrhage on February 25th, 1969 at age 46.
No. Oh, no.
So
That's
he
really
was
sad.
He was way too young. And Betty died of cancer on October 17th, 2004. She was 85, but she never remarried, which is kind of cute. But most of Betty Hill's notes tapes, and other items have been placed in the permanent collection at the University of New Hampshire, which was her alma mater.
Oh, wow.
And then in July of 2011, this is my last little ripple. So 2011, not that far ago, the New Hampshire Division of Historical Resources marked the site of the alleged craft's first approach with a historical marker.
Oh, I love that.
Isn't that cool?
That is.
So that's my story.
I love it. I believe it. And
You
I
believe
know,
them.
I do.
And you're the skeptic.
I am. Like 9 times out of 10, I'm like, Rosa, hey, your story is complete bullshit. And here's why. But I like this story. I don't know. Maybe I just really like them. But I believe it. I like how Barney is more reserved and he doesn't.
He's the realist.
He's the realist. And if those stories are coming from him under hypnosis and going into that amount of detail, which I wouldn't think that anybody would want to share.
No, and or makeup or yeah.
I don't know. I kind of believe it.
I'm all about it.
Well, of course you are.
I believe everything.
But I wonder too, I would be really curious to know if anybody from the diner or any of the other potential like spots on the way, I know this is like a long drive, but like if they had noticed anything that night that looked
suspicious,
out of the norm, like, oh, weird shooting star that seemed to hang out longer than normal. Like, you know, I would be really curious to see
or
if
maybe
like that happens.
They go back to the people at the diner and go, okay, what did these people order and what did you give them?
Actually give them?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's strange. Also, the pink powder is driving me crazy because
the 5 different testing sites.
Laboratories.
Laboratories.
I was hanging out with some foreigners yesterday and they were talking about laboratories. But that's besides
I'm going to be fancy and say that word from now on.
They should be able to collect, I would think, or at least like if they, all of these different laboratories had samples, like I would think that they would.
I mean, tell if it was like.
I feel like that's a mystery that still could be solved, like today.
Well, and I believe that her dress is actually one of the items on display at her school.
There's got to be something on that.
Some dress. Little piece.
Yes. We need to find out.
Let's go do a live show in New Hampshire.
As soon as we can point it out on a map, we'll head there.
All right, everybody, we're going to call it. We're about an hour. We started a little early. I wanted to end a little early and get ready for the next one. Do you want to pick for next week? You want to grab the basket? So if anyone wants to tune in.
Oh my gosh, you're putting me on the spot.
It's right behind you. You can grab it.
Oh God. Okay.
God, don't fall over. If you like what you heard, we are on all of the platforms at The Ripple Podcast. We are on Facebook at The Ripple Podcast with Rosa and Angela. You can email us at theripplepodcast@gmail.com. I'm trying to read our sign over there. We're also on Instagram at The Ripple Pod.
The Ripple Pod.
The Ripple Pod. Okay. And then Angela's going to do a picking here.
Yes. So I don't have the locations. So I'm going to tell Rosa.
Go.
Off the top of your head. Ready? Pick a location.
Hawaii.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay. I'm excited about that. And we have true crime.
True crime in Hawaii.
Oh, what kind of crimes happen in
Hawaii? I cannot wait for you to pronounce all of the Hawaiian names.
I had to do that once already because we've talked about Hawaii once way back before we started picking areas.
Mm-hmm.
That was rough.
Can you do huma huma nuka nuka a pua'a?
No.
That's their national fish or state fish.
No. Okay. All right.
Practice. All right, you guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Check out the rest of the podcasts that are going to be on the convention. There's been so much time and effort putting into making this an amazing event, and I hope you are all enjoying it and having a great time. Happy spring break.
Be a fountain and not a drain.
Oh, yeah. Be a fountain and not a drain.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Oh, my God. I can't believe